Bob, you've watched this industry ebb, flow, go good, go bad, and right now go not so good. Let's talk first about what's happening to the FBO industry. It's something that nobody really talks about. It's a dirty little secret that we desperately need FBOs, and they're disappearing right and left. And there are people who are complaining about prices and complaining about access and complaining about this and that and have not a clue what it takes to stay alive right now.
You know, there's a lot of things going on in aviation, and in FBOs in particular. The economy in the last couple of years has taken many airports that used to have 3 or 4 FBOs, and now they have 2 or maybe 1. And there's some pretty decent airports around that don't have a viable business anymore, and they may have a city employee out to do it. It's a sad thing when you find out how the city handles you when you go into an airport like that, because the guy doesn't care. The other side, at the other end of the equation, many of the fine old names in aviation have disappeared and become a part of one of the chains. There are several chains now that are over 45 or 50 apiece, and almost every one of those represents some private business or family business that used to be in that spot in most cases. Some of the huge airports, of course, that may not be the case, but it's tough for even a good independent to compete with them in many respects.
If you had to name what the biggest enemies your business, the whole genre, have at this point to the future success of the FBO industry, what would they be?
I think the perception by the general public of what we do is one of the biggest dangers facing our business. And it's not helped right now by almost anything that you can see in the media or from the current administration. It's been a really tough time. People assume that we're doing something that wastes money, which is far from the truth in most cases. I know you've seen the numbers that even the big corporations, the ones that operate airplanes, make more money than the ones that don't. And that's true of an insurance agent here in Central Florida who has an airplane so he can cover Palm Beach and Fort Myers and Jacksonville and Tallahassee all in the same day. We've not gotten the message out that this is a time machine that we're operating, and we make time. It's one of the very few things that will make time for busy people. I mentioned critical mass and the other subject of FBOs, but the critical mass I worry about is the next generation of pilots. We're not making enough new pilots. The Air Force isn't making very many new pilots, and the airlines need a bunch of them. So it's a great career opportunity for someone, and if their eyes aren't that good, then they need to become a mechanic, because I think in either case, they'll never spend a day on the breadline for the rest of their lives if they would follow the path into professionalism in aviation.
Avidyne is the brand of choice for pilots who want innovative, easy-to-use avionics. And the new IFD 540 GPS Navcom sets a new standard for simplicity in communication and LPV navigation. As a slide-in replacement for existing 530 series navigators, and with a highly intuitive touchscreen control, the IFD 540 makes it much easier to access the information you want when you want it, reducing head-down time and making flying more enjoyable. Finally, you have a choice, and the choice is easy. Avidyne.
If all of a sudden the spirit of Wilbur and Orville showed up, tapped you on the shoulder and said, guess what? For the next 30 days, you have the ability to transform aviation. You have the ability to make things right. It's all on you. What would you do?
You know, I think I'd do something similar to what I know you've been reporting about. And I was thinking this morning, I was planning on going out to see the Redbird. In fact, back 15 years ago, whenever they were bringing the 172 back, I went to them and I said, for goodness sakes, bring the air-conditioned 172 back, because my theory is I'd like to have professionals learn how to fly. People that aren't going to be a pilot, but a lawyer, a doctor, a candlestick maker. And they come out here to the flight school and they find an old airplane with a child instructor, and it's hot, can't go back to work because their clothes are ruined. And my theory was to have almost like a gym locker where you could hang your suit up, put on your gym clothes, go and sweat because you're concentrating on learning how, but at least sweat in an air-conditioned airplane. Come back, take a shower, put your clothes back on, and when you come back tomorrow for your next lesson, your gym clothes are clean in your locker because I had somebody wash them last night. That was my theory of learning how to fly, and I think we may be seeing them attempt something like that. But to entice a young professional today, we need to do better. You know, the video game part of a lot of the new airplanes is somewhat attractive to the young folks today. And we don't transmit the fact that, by the way, besides being useful, it's a heck of a lot of fun and it never fades.
Who do you look to? Who's doing a good job? Who's not doing a good job? Where is the leadership right now? Who should we be looking to?
I think the AOPA, because of the size of the organization, needs to be one of the leaders. And I think I've been working with Air Safety Institute. We're looking at ways to go out to the Rotary clubs and talk about the good news of general aviation. And I'm working on a project on that right now. I'm also excited about what EAA's done. I haven't met Mr. Hightower, but I've heard many good things. I'm also a great friend with Ed Bolin. We host the NBAA for them every other year. I love the guy. He's passionate. And I think that the business guys have come closer to understanding it. We're their roots. And if we can't grow some new pilots, then it gets real difficult to find an experienced guy ready to take on the new Gulfstream. So I'm encouraged by the current leadership of these organizations. But we do have to keep moving because the numbers and the age of the pilots are all having snow on their face, so many of them today. I have to talk about a problem I see here in Florida because we're still the incubator for much of the world's airplane pilots. And one of the problems I see today is so many of these folks at ab initio schools that are learning how to fly from a 400-hour pilot, who learned how to fly from a 400-hour pilot, who learned how to fly from a 400-hour pilot. Nobody that had made enough mistakes to really pass on some good stuff. And I see it. And by the way, the 400-hour pilot forgot 10% of what he learned, and so he didn't pass it on the next guy. And so it just sort of snowballs. I would love to find a way, and there's nobody that's said anything different for the 40 years I've been at this. We need professional instructors, people that love to teach, and they deserve to make a living, and they deserve to make a fine living. And I don't know how to solve that problem, but I can promise you that when my children learned how to fly, they learned how to fly from people with white in their hair, and I would highly recommend that to anybody else. We happen to have a company at our airport whose pilots are experienced and have some wisdom. And if I have a friend ask me, where should I learn how to fly, I send them straight there for that simple reason.
Welcome to Airborne, the latest programming initiative from the Aero-News Network. Hosted by Ashley Hale, Airborne is a visually stunning, weekly high-def newscast featuring guest appearances and commentary from some of aviation's leading dignitaries, as well as ANN's own familiar faces. With aggressive reporting, extensive video, and a number of special Aero features, Airborne offers truly engaging, fast-paced Aero-News content and analysis of lasting value to all of aviation.
At this stage of the game, what excites you about aviation? What do you find hopeful, exciting, interesting? What can't you wait to see more of?
Well, I'm excited about some of the new propulsion ideas that are starting to perk now that the fuel prices are so awful. And by the way, FBOs hate high fuel prices. I've had people actually think that I should like it when it gets up like this. Well, you ought to try to buy 60,000 gallons and keep it in stock. That now costs me $150,000 more than it did 5 years ago just to sit in the ground. I didn't make $150,000 in the last couple of years, so it had to come out of my pocket. And we're still running here in Orlando at about half of our 2006 business levels. We'll be here when it gets better, and it will get better. But I think the LSA industry is going to get its feet under it, and I'm excited about that. I'll never flunk a medical, I promise you. I'm excited about some of the new small jets out there. I think the Phenoms have stirred up the business. And they came on when the industry was in such bad shape. They really haven't had a chance to take off yet, but it's a great way to get around the country far more efficiently than before.
Bob, we appreciate your time. We appreciate all the hospitality today. We've been here on a project, and once again, for every time I've been here, and especially the couple times we've been here for NBAA, you folks have always done more than most, and more important, done it with a smile, and we sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. I enjoy your work. As I've told you before, you're my homepage.
God help you.